position. Okay, so you can set it to, I believe, is relative, and then you can move the logo up and down. You can do minus like 10 pixels or something like that, and then you can move it wherever you like. Okay, so let's just minus that, and you can also add in a site tagline if you do have one. I'm gonna select site title, and maybe I'm gonna select Open Sans, okay, which is the default font on this website, and I'm gonna select maybe bold. Okay, and then you can publish. Right, so to add in a fab icon, I'm going to show you that right now. So let's just close that for now, and you can go to your dashboard area, and then what you want to do is hover over Themify Ultra, Themify settings, and you can click on the fab icon here in the general tab, upload, and you can select the fab icon. So for the fab icon size, I normally recommend sort of like a square dimension. So the one that I'm uploading is 64 times 64 pixels, okay, and it's also a PNG. Open, and then you can save it, and then if you go back to visit your website, then the logo should show up there, your fab icon. All right, so I'm going to show you how to edit the fonts and colors for each of the sections. Right, so we're going to click on customize, and here we're going to click on body. Okay, so body is going to edit all the font between the header and also the footer, right? So if you actually change, let's say, the body font to let's say maybe this one here, then that's going to change, right? So what I do recommend is just selecting one font for your entire website, because you don't really need that many fonts to make your website look good. So I think that's a big misconception. I've seen a lot of people actually build a website and they have, 3 or 4 different, fonts, and it looks kind of messy, right? So if you actually go to a website like Apple or, Google's website, you notice that they are very consistent with the fonts they use. So I'm going to use this Chrome extension. It's called What Font. And if you hover over the fonts, it's going to tell you what font each of the text is. All right, and what you're going to notice is they are pretty much using the same font, but what they're doing is they are changing the font weight, right? So the font weight means like the boldness and the thinness. Okay, so this one's bold, this one's a little bit thinner and smaller in text, right? So that's what I recommend, using different font weights to sort of bring attention to your titles and things like that, rather than actually changing to like italic or a different font. All right, so here for your font, body font, I'm going to select Open Sans. Right, so Open Sans is a really good Google font, and Open Sans is something that we call sans serif typeface, right? So I think it's really important to understand this, because if you choose like a different typeface, like for example a serif typeface, it's going to look a lot different. Okay, so sans serif typeface has like plain edges and the strokes are even, and that sort of makes your website look really modern and clean, right? So most modern websites actually use a sans serif typeface. Like Google, Tesla, Apple, they use the sans serif typeface. So some really good ones to start off with is these ones here, okay? And you can choose these ones to use for your website if you don't know what to use. The serif typeface, it makes it look a lot more traditional and sort of has a classic look to it, right? So this is good for long reading and blogs as well. So if you click on an example, for example, this one here, then you're going to notice that they use the serif typeface, right? And it just looks like completely different, right? This one really suits this website because it's selling like, bed linen and stuff like that. So you got to really take into account like what your brand and your business is about. Then you can select the right typeface for your website. Okay, so here I'm just going to select Open Sans, and as you can see the font weight is 300, right? If I select it to be normal, it's going to be a little bit thicker, but if you actually select something thinner, it's going to make the website look really modern as well. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, and for the body link, this is the links on your website, and you can change the color as well. All right, so generally you know, the normal link color is like the blue, right? So if you notice, like on a lot of websites, the link color is blue, right? So you can use this blue if you want to, and put it onto your website. But you know, for our website, I'm gonna select a more sort of neutral sort of look to it, okay? And let's just say we click into this blog post. I think this one was the first one we added. All right, and here's the link, okay? So currently it's red, right? So you can change it to a blue, and if you want to know like what color blue they're using, you can also use something called Colorzilla as a Chrome extension as well. And I think you can try to click into that, see if it actually shows up. Okay, so this is the color code here, right? So you can do 0070C9. Okay, so let's just say 0070C9. So that's essentially the same blue that Apple uses, right? So you can choose that if you want to, or for me, I'm just going to keep it like really neutral, just a black one, just a little bit darker than what I'm currently using for my text. Okay, and the body link hover is when you actually hover over it, right? So you're going to change a specific color. Okay, so for example, if you hover over, I think certain items, for example, the Apple website, you see a really subtle effect. Okay, okay, this one, I think it goes a little bit darker. Okay, I think it does, but definitely when you hover over here, it goes a little bit darker as well. So that's showing you that it's a link. Okay, so what I generally like to do is go to a website called 0to255.com, and then what I do is enter in a color. So the color of my link is the dark gray, and what I like to do is either you can go like, you know, 2 shades darker, or maybe, you know, 3 shades lighter or something like that. So I'm going to select 3 shades lighter for this one and just paste that in. Okay, so for all body hover effects, I'm going to use this same color, so it keeps everything really consistent. Okay, so it's just a really light and subtle effect. You can make it a little bit lighter if you want to as well. So let's just say this one here, 444. Then you can see that when people hover over it, then it gives a nice subtle effect and show that it's a link, right? So once you've done that, then we can minimize it, and we're going to go to headings, right? So if we actually go back to our homepage, we've set this one to heading 1 tag, these ones to heading 2. So if you click on headings, you can actually change the defaults of it. Okay, so I'm going to leave that to you. For the forms are things such as your contact forms and also your comment forms as well. Okay, so I'm going to open that. Okay, so it also affects the forms area here as well. Okay, so if you actually want to change, let's say this thing here, then you can click on form fields. You can change the background color. Okay, so the background color, let's just change that to white. You can change that to any color, and then we're gonna move the opacity down. Okay, so that sort of makes it look a lot cooler. Okay, so we're gonna change it to maybe like, you know, 80% fine, like that, 80% opacity. You can still see the background a little bit. Okay, and the color here is the text color, so I'm gonna change it to 222, make it a little bit darker. Okay, that's pretty cool. I might make it a little bit lighter. All right, and here you can change the fonts and everything, but we want to keep everything just one font, so you don't really need to change it here. And I think that is pretty good. So you can also change it to align in the center. Okay, so it straight away enters the text into the center. Okay, and here you can also change the button color, right? So you can click on form buttons. You can change the background color. I'm going to change it to 222. Okay, so a dark gray. Okay, and then for the button hover, I'm going to change that to, so click on here and then change the button background hover to, let's say, 444. And when you hover over that, then it gives a slight effect like that. And then here you can click on the header. The header wrap is basically the background color, right? So what I recommend is keeping the background to change it to position.